Okay, so these DC motors that we work with, they're very fragile, especially when it comes to the wire connections. They can break really easily. Now, ideally, to repair this, you would use a soldering iron, but most people don't have soldering irons in their house. What you would do with the soldering iron is you would follow the same steps I'm about to show you, except you, instead of tying things off, you would use solder and have that not only be, act as a conductor, but also as like a glue. What you don't want to do is use any kind of glue or non-electrical tape with this because that glue will crack when the motor is used. Anyway, here I have my motor with broken off lead. Here's the wire that broke off. It's very short because I've demoed this a bunch of times. And I have a spare jumper wire. Now this wire is super short at this point because I've used it so many times, but the idea will still show through. So if you get to a point, however, where it's so short that it's unusable, you can always just take one of your jumper wires and use it the same way. It's no big deal. Not having this slightly different shape here is not going to ultimately make any difference when you're using your motor. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a pair of scissors. That's all you really need for this. And I'm going to cut off the end of my wire because I want to get rid of that broken piece. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave about an inch. I'm going to go about an inch down on my wire here. And I'm going to not cut, but I'm going to try to remove the rubber that's around my wire. So this insulation here, I want to remove it and expose a good amount of wire, about an inch of wire. And I'm going to slide, now that I've cut it nicely, I'm going to slide off that rubber, and I have this exposed piece of wire. Now, if you mess up, it's okay. You cut off that piece, and you just get more wire. And you always have your jumper wires to fall back on. Then what you do is you put your fingers here, and you fan out the wire a little bit. You fan it out so that it's nice and big. And what you're going to do is you're going to loop it right here through your lead and bring it back. And what you want to do is kind of make I would say like a loop. And then what you're going to do is you're going to turn. You're going to turn this kind of like you're braiding something. You're going to turn this to make it really tight because you want this to be tight. You don't want it to break off. And then you're basically done. Now, obviously, my wire here is really short, so I'm going to do the same thing with the jumper wire so I can have a final wire that's workable. But if you have electrical tape, you'll put it around this to kind of insulate it, make sure it is secure. But if you don't, it's fine. Just don't use anything like Scotch tape. That would be really bad. So I'm going to get rid of this wire and just demo it one more time, but this time I'm going to use my jumper wire, just for those who thought about using the jumper wire instead. So I'm going to cut the end off my jumper wire, just like I did for this wire here. I'm going to take about an inch down, go and kind of take off some of this insulation, rotate it, and pull it off. And the wire is going to look a little different because it's a different wire. It's going to be a little bit worse, but it'll do the trick. So I'll fan it out a little bit, and then I will, just like before, I'll loop my wire here. Maybe I'll do 2 loops because I have the length for it. And then what I'll do is I will turn this so it becomes really tight and snug. And I want to have a really tight connection here. Now, the jumper wire is a little bit worse for this, so I don't recommend using it if you can avoid it. But you still end up with something that's workable. Okay?